Since it is played at least once in every match, the opening shot needs to be mastered. Mastering this shot also means to position the red ball well. To achieve this shot must be played with a solid English above the center of the cue ball. By hitting the target ball at 3/4, the player can give enough power to the red ball to replace it in the upper zone of the table. Here we see a point similar to the opening shot. According to the same principle, the player needs to use the red ball as a support to reposition this ball via 3 cushions. But this kind of repositioning entails the risk of suffering a counter contact at the last crossing of the balls. Since the red ball is positioned in the lower part of the table, you may envisage a different positioning by hitting the red ball thinner. The red ball is then projected against the opposite long cushion and allows for a repositioning via 2 or 3 cushions. This time, since the red ball is even closer to the player's cue ball, the positioning can be played according to the same principle. However, the player needs to hit the ball very precisely, since the cue ball will cross the path of the red ball twice, which again runs the risk of a counter contact. The cue ball, yellow ball axis being less favorable, the player might find a solution by giving a broken English, which makes it possible to readjust the course of the cue ball when it comes out of the short cushion. This path with a broken English is even more important when the cloth is new, which is the case here. Now we see a more classical point. The cue ball red ball axis is oriented towards the long cushion, and the angle is much more favorable by hitting the red ball on the right side. Hitting the ball above the center with little English, the player must slow down his movement to control the impact on the 3 ball and the repositioning of the red ball. Since this time the 3 ball is located close to the short cushion, the third and last cushion has to be played on the long cushion. To modify the course, the player must hit the center of the cue ball with maximum English. The red ball is again positioned in the corner zone to facilitate the contact at the next shot. In this example, the cue ball red ball axis creates a bad course that the player must compensate with bottom English, which requires a rapid movement. On the other hand, the English must be strong, but not excessive, to keep control over the ball. The cue ball red ball axis creates a bad course for executing the draw. So the player must directly hit the short cushion with a center shot with maximum English, and by hitting the target ball at between a quarter and a half. The arrival must take place via the short cushion. Now the cue ball red ball axis comes close to the perpendicular axis of the long cushions, which gives better hitting opportunities. The player can use the target ball as a support and choose an arrival via the long cushion, which opens a large contact zone. By trying to hit the ball at approximately 1/2, the player can, by calculating his shot well, project the red ball into the corner. which allows him to achieve a favorable position after the contact with the yellow ball. This variation does not imply another amount on the target ball, using the same amount as in the previous shot. Here the player must choose the right dosing of English, making it possible to direct the cue ball towards the long cushion, which is the better choice for the arrival of the ball. In this shot, it is mandatory to hit high to keep the natural reflection. By hitting the red ball, the player can try to reposition it in the opposite corner zone by paying attention that it does not come too close to the yellow ball, which would close the game. Since the cue ball red ball axis is not perpendicular to the long cushion anymore, the natural reflection is no longer suitable. The player has to compensate by hitting lower and by adding lateral English. If you look closely, this picture looks similar to the preceding shots. The arrival on the third ball is extended towards the opposite long cushion. To achieve an optimum course, the player needs to hit high and relatively thin. A good dosing of the shot power enables the repositioning of the red ball in a favorable zone for the next point. This other example enables us to understand the variations of the course, achieved this time with lateral English. By adding left English, the player obtains a variation of 2 diamonds at the arrival to contact the yellow ball in the corner zone. By hitting the target ball slightly less than 1/2, and by well dosing the shot power, the player can reposition the red ball in the opposite corner zone to prepare for the next shot. The same principle as for the previous shot applies. This time the lateral English allows to take the direction of the corner zone. In this case it makes sense to play a more powerful shot to prevent the cue ball from stopping on the yellow ball close to the corner, which would close the position. Here, the red ball almost sticks to the long cushion. The player has to hit lower for a better control of the cue ball. For this kind of shot it is better to contact the 3 ball after having touched the short cushion to open up the position. The arrival on the 3 ball is shifted towards the center of the short cushion, so the player has to apply maximum English to the cue ball on the center level, playing the shot with a very fast movement. This time, the position of the yellow ball does not allow for a low hit anymore. By hitting high, you modify the course of the cue ball after it reflects from the cushion. A very rapid movement is necessary to obtain this curve. This shot seems to be complex to beginners, but in fact it is rather simple. With an amount of around 3/4 of the target ball, and by hitting the cue ball slightly above the center, the ball covers easily the course via 5 cushions to make the contact in the corner zone. Because the cue ball red ball axis doesn't offer any more solutions via the long cushion, the player can, by hitting lower, reproduce a course similar to the previous point by going directly via the short cushion. Instead of choosing a course via 3 cushions, playing an extremely thin and difficult shot, the player should use the yellow ball as a support to play the point via 5 cushions. A good dosing of the shot power allows for an ideal positioning. This new example shows well that the shortest course is not always the easiest course to play. By hitting the target ball at 1/2 with maximum English and with a fast movement, the course via 5 cushions is easier to play. Another shot that is easier than it looks. The player must not hesitate to play the red ball rather full instead of trying to obtain the draw by playing thin. The course via 5 cushions is obtained naturally and often allows to open the position. Even if the shot passes extremely thinly, the risk of a counter contact is too high. So the player can play fuller by holding the cue end higher to give a curve to his cue ball, which will have a positive incidence to find the course via 5 cushions. This is called a transformation. The masse being extremely difficult, and the transformation being impossible, there is another method making it possible to reproduce the course via 5 cushions. By hitting the long cushion with counter English, you obtain a natural English on the opposite cushion, making it possible to reproduce the famous 5 cushions. We can also obtain the course via 5 cushions by playing thin, to avoid the counter contact on the 3-ball. However, this does not exclude the risk of a counter contact with the red ball at the end of the course. This is a nice point, with the repositioning of the red ball via 2 cushions. A relaxed and fast movement is necessary to apply a correct English to this ball. Have a close look at the cue ball-red ball axis. It makes it possible to play quite thin to easily achieve the course via 5 cushions. If the target ball is hit too full, the player runs the risk of a counter contact of the red ball on the yellow ball. This time, the cue ball-red ball axis is no longer favorable. So, it's better to readjust the course of the cue ball after the short cushion and to opt for the course via 5 cushions. Still in this shot category, the cue ball-red ball axis this time allows you to hit the shot for a 3-cushion course. By playing relatively thin above the center and without forcing, the course becomes natural. Here too, many players think it's the better solution to play via 5 cushions, And this is where the problems start. On the one hand, they take the risk of a counter contact with the red ball after the second cushion. On the other hand, they also take the risk of a counter contact on the 3-ball. Under these conditions, the solution via 3 cushions is by far the least dangerous one. Still, in this picture, the red ball being located lower, the option of a 5-cushion course remains the most efficient one. Of course, you have to hit the target ball correctly without playing it too full, which would direct the red ball on the yellow ball. In this variation, the player should use the yellow ball as a support to play the point via 5 cushions. The yellow ball being hit rather full, it is rapidly followed and the risk of counter contact is eliminated. This is what happens when you hit high a ball stuck to the cushion. To best benefit from the reflection, you have to hit the ball with a draw. The draw tends to neutralize the curve by offering a greater contact comfort, making it possible to solve this point via 4 cushions. Another advantage of the draw when the 2-ball is stuck to the cushion. Since the 2-ball is played thin, the English acts on the cushion, which makes it possible to readjust the course via 4 cushions. This time the yellow ball is not stuck to the cushion anymore, and the draw is of no use anymore. So you have to play normally, above the center, for the 4-cushion course. All the attention has to be brought to the amount of the target ball. In this 4-cushion point, the bottom English must be very strong, so the speed of the cue movement is essential. The success of this shot mainly depends on the quality of the contact with the ball. You will notice that the less you use side English, the more the course of the cue ball is straight before the contact. It is important to hit high, also to obtain some comfort in the contact with the target ball. Hitting high here makes it possible to run around the yellow ball easily. This curve also allows you to modify the impact on the first cushion, and so to find a good course via 3 cushions. The red ball being stuck to the cushion, the high English gives a curve to the cue ball, allowing here to find a solution via 4 cushions. It is also possible to choose the solution via 3 cushions by generating the curve hitting the ball centrally. This point is close to the previous ones. Again, the player can create a curve using the red ball as a support. The white ball finds again the good course via 3 cushions. The right English, even if counted at the first cushion, becomes positive at the second cushion. Together with a high hit, it allows to describe a curve after the first cushion, which alters the impact on the opposite cushion to find the 4-cushion course. The speed of the movement is essential. For this kind of shot, the amount of the target ball is often better than to dose the English in order to find the right direction. The natural reflection facilitates the execution. The absence of English makes the course more homogeneous on different surfaces, and in this particular case, the position is more open after the point. Here's another example of a natural reflection. Target ball hit 1/2, high attack. This time we add some side English. Here, the natural reflection does not allow to play this point within the zone, so we use the bottom English to find the right course. This cut shot is played simply by hitting the target ball at about 1/2, by hitting above the center of the cue ball. Here again, we find the principle of the natural reflection. The cue ball-yellow ball axis is close to the perpendicular line towards the short cushion, so the player needs to use the yellow ball as a support to chase it, and he must hit lower. This delicate movement is called compensation. Although the player must use the red ball as a support again, the movement is easier than in the preceding shot because it is played above the center of the cue ball with natural English. Here we are close to what is called a half-follow shot. The major difficulty in this point is simply to recognize it. This is a cut shot doubled at the long cushion. It is played easily with natural reflection and some left English. This point can be compared to the previous one, and it can be considered as easier because the red ball is in a bigger zone, which means that the contact zone is bigger. Played with the right shot power, it allows to reposition the yellow ball along the long cushion. Hitting high with right English allows on one hand to create a curve and on the other hand to benefit from a favorable English at the second cushion. The bottom draw shot requires a rapid movement. It is important to hit the cue ball well, since this will determine the incidence. This shot is relatively easy to play, since the entry angle on the yellow ball is very favorable. The long English is very useful to open the entry angle on the third cushion. When you hit a ball rather full, in the center of the cue ball with maximum English, you slow down the rolling by adding speed to the lateral rotation. Since the ball is slowed down, the reflection from the cushion is also slowed, but the friction on the cloth is intensified, which considerably opens the reflection angle. The bottom English also offers the advantage of slowing down the ball by keeping a strong lateral English. So, The bottom draw allows here to create a long English by hitting the target ball thinner, an important condition to avoid a counter contact on the third ball. This is another example of a long English which finds its importance when touching the third cushion. Here we eliminate the regulation of the amount of the ball and the side English. By hitting the red ball rather full, the player needs to pay attention to the height of the hit to find the incidence on the short cushion. The long English will have all of its importance when touching the third cushion. This shot is simplified by the long English, which considerably opens the angle on the second cushion and allows a bigger margin of error on the third cushion. Here too the third ball is close to the cushion, so it is interesting to use this long English to achieve a larger contact zone. This time it is not the proximity of the third ball that justifies the use of the long English, but rather the simplicity of the shot it allows for. The setting by nuancing the English is particularly delicate and contains various possible sources of error. The left-hand English makes it possible, after touching the short cushion, to readjust the course of the cue ball towards the long cushion. Here, the reverse English is more appropriate than the bottom English via 3 cushions, since it allows to eliminate all risk of a counter contact. Since the red ball is located close to the long cushion, it is very important to combine a top hit with a fast movement, which also tends to position the player's ball close to the long cushion. You have to be careful not to plunge by keeping the cue on a horizontal level. This time, since the red ball is located more distantly to the long cushion, you must think of slowing down the movement by using maximum English. Here too it is important to slow down the movement. On one hand to gain precision, on the other hand to make sure that the English is as efficient as possible when touching the short cushion. Remember that to apply maximum English to the cue ball, you have to hit it at its center level. The smoothness of the shot is also an element of precision. Since the reverse shot is extremely difficult to play due to its thinness, the follow shot may be the best solution here. It makes it possible to apply maximum English to the ball according to the same principle as the long shot. Here is another example showing the efficiency of the follow shot for the reverse English. Being hit very full, the red ball allows the cue ball to double the short cushion before the reversal takes place. The bottom draw by the centre is rather rare, but just as efficient for playing a reverse shot. It slows the ball down without altering the lateral rotation. Here's a beautiful example. Since the reverse shot on the red ball leads to a counter contact, the player may choose another reverse by applying bottom draw to the yellow ball, which determines the curve, making it possible to modify the incidence on the short cushion. Since the red ball is close to the cushion, you need to hit slightly lower to add maximum lateral English, which adds the long English to the reverse shot. This time, the red ball is located more distantly from the cushion, so by playing very high with a bit of English, the follow quality predominates over the long quality. This example shows that it's also possible to play a reverse shot via 4 cushions. The red ball being hit quite full, it allows the cue ball to keep enough English to execute the reverse on the short cushion. We also call reverse shots those shots which, thanks to a counter English, make it possible to obtain the desired English on the second cushion. Here is an example making it possible to resolve a pretty tricky situation. Here is another example of a reverse shot via 4 cushions. It illustrates that it's sometimes wiser to seek solutions by reverse shots rather than looking for alternative courses via 3 cushions, which are often more difficult to execute. Here again, the solution by a reverse allows to solve a difficult situation. By hitting the ball rather full and lower, the player slows his ball down, and this allows him to keep a maximum English on the second cushion. The reverse cushion first shots are also very useful when balls 2 and 3 are close to the cushions. Maximum English is recommended, since it allows the player to keep his attention on the target spot on the cushion. Hitting at the top with a fast movement, you can repeat the long cushion in this point. The position of the 3 ball allows the player to use the red ball as a support to obtain the desired English. The cue ball now takes a natural course towards the long cushion for a controlled arrival. In addition to the more delicate touch of the ball, due to the counter-English, the big difficulty of this shot lies in the gesture of execution, which must be of excellent quality. If the player hits the red ball on the right side, the arrival would take place in the corner zone and consequently makes the 3rd cushion more delicate. On the other hand, by hitting directly the red ball on the left side, the counter contact can't be avoided. So the solution of playing a cushion first shot seems to be most appropriate. This time the arrival is executed alongside the cushion, directly via the short cushion, so the player must hit lower to apply maximum English to his ball and to limit the splitting of the balls. As the distance between the red ball and the cushion is limited, the cushion first shot requires necessarily an almost full amount of the ball. So, it is essential to hit the ball at the top to apply a follow English to the ball, which then presses the cue ball to the cushion. By the way, in this example, the cue ball touches the long cushion 3 times. This time the 3 ball is located distantly to the cushion, so you don't have to apply the follow English to the cue ball anymore. So you have to hit lower and to slow down your movement to limit the splitting. By playing with too much power, the cue ball may run around the red ball. Good observation of the positions sometimes allows you to find solutions using cushion-first shots. Here this is the case, since the cushion-first shot is the best solution for this point. The player must make sure not to play too full to avoid the development of the maximum English. The position of the yellow ball does not allow any more to find a solution on the left side, but by applying a lot of English to the ball, you can find a solution via 3 cushions and benefit from the long English. In this variation, the counter-English allows you to find an arrival via the long cushion. Please note the curve after the impact, which is obtained by a natural reflection without force. Another position, a more frequent one this time, by using the red ball as a support, the player makes his ball describe a curve, allowing him to find the good course. Here again, don't forget to play with only little power, by hitting slightly above the center. The distance between the yellow ball and the cushion makes this point very difficult. But with an amount of the ball close to 1/2, the player obtains a natural reflection, which is ideal for this course. The left English allows here to re-achieve the desired English at the second cushion. Hitting at the top makes it possible to create a curve after the first cushion, which corrects the incidence towards the corner zone. This position is delicate, since the player must find a solution by playing a double cushion first shot. However, the player has a wide choice in the amount of the ball, between 1/4 and 3/4 of the ball, to obtain the point after the impact. We call this point the umbrella shot. In this triple cushion first shot, the player keeps a better control of his ball by not using any English. This allows him to create a reflection angle similar to the incidental angle. So the player can more easily find a target point on the cushion, or use a more precise calculation system. According to the same principle, playing without English allows better control of the course of the cue ball to execute this cushion first shot. The most difficult thing in this point is to recognize what it is. The execution of the shot is then similar to the preceding shot. To play without English is once more mandatory here, to well anticipate the reflection angle. When the player has determined his target point on the cushion, he can then, between the last target lock-in and the shot, keep his eyes on the ball to be able to control the impact point on the ball and to avoid to add English by mistake. In this point, you must try to play an amount close to 1/2 of the ball to obtain the natural reflection. The left English allows then to find the right direction. Here again, it is the first phase of observation and recognition of the shot which are the most delicate elements. Because the cue ball is located close to the short cushion, this cushion first shot is delicate. Its angle is very open, and many players miss this shot on the inside, so it makes sense to modify the target point on the cushion by one ball up. The next example of a cushion-first shot with counter-English is relatively easy to execute. It allows, in addition, to open the position towards the center of the table. The top English generates a split here, allowing the cue ball to roll back on the short cushion. The shot does not need to be played with a lot of power. This other example of a cushion-first shot allows a quite easy opening of the position towards the center of the table. To play this shot without lateral English allows better control of the cue ball in order to achieve a good amount on the yellow ball, which is the main difficulty of this shot. By playing this shot first on the long cushion, using right English, the cue ball recovers the desired English on the third cushion. The maximum right English allows you to execute a reverse after the cushion first. You have to be careful to play not too full, even if this shot can also be executed via 3 cushions. The top English allows, after contacting the cushion, not to follow but to roll back, in spite of the distance between the red ball and the short cushion. The angle being close to parallel to the cushion, the draw is normally achieved by hitting low without English. The cue ball yellow ball axis being too perpendicular, and the yellow ball being too close to the corner zone, the player can make use of the cushion to achieve his reverse. Besides the learning of systems, the player needs to know his courses. When he plays like here, full corner with maximum English. By the way, this is called a maximum. Please note that when leaving the corner, you always arrive in the zone close to the second diamond. To successfully play triple cushion first shots, it is possible to use a calculation system. By using the target points located on the cushions, you can exactly calculate the target point for a given arrival. 3 parameters need to be respected: the departure point, the arrival zone, and the target point. Here is an example of a widely used calculation system. The departure zone goes from one corner to the opposite corner, and here it is numbered from 0 to 90. The value of the departure point corresponds to the diamond pointing to the bottom of the cue. The target zone corresponds to the long opposite cushion, here also numbered from 0 to 90. The arrival is towards the corner zone. You will notice that the numbering at the arrival corresponds to the cushion edge, contrary to the target point and the departure point. First, the players need to identify the arrival value plus the departure value according to the position of the balls. The calculation of the target point is obtained by a simple subtraction: departure value minus arrival value. The regularity of the movement and the right dosing of English will give the player an improved precision. Here you'll see 3 examples illustrating such systems, the arrival value being the only variable. With an arrival at 20 and a departure at 50, the player needs to aim for the 30 in the direction of the third diamond. With an arrival at 30 and a departure at 50, the player must aim for 20 in the direction of the second diamond. This time, with an arrival at 50 and a departure at 50, the player must aim for 0, which means a spot close to the corner. You can even use a system to play shots over 5 or more cushions. Actually, it's an extension of the previous system. Since the course is longer, the loss of English is corrected at the beginning by aiming 2 to 3 ball sizes further on, depending on the table. A slight bottom English makes it possible here to readjust the cue ball to execute the cushion first shot by a cross table. The speed of the movement is essential. Here is another example of a cross-table shot with bottom English. Since the yellow ball is played very thin, the bottom English operates directly on the cushion. Here too, speed is essential. By hitting lower, the player slows the ball down slightly, which makes it possible to avoid the counter contact on the yellow ball. Please note that hitting low eliminates the curve. The cue ball, yellow ball axis now offers a big enough margin to hit the cross-table shot high, without taking the risk of a counter contact. Of course, what is valid in one direction also works the other way round, even if the arrival on the red ball is narrower. The cross-table shot, by its nature, closes the arrival angle. The proximity of the yellow ball means that it's no longer possible to hit the cross-table shot high. The cue ball is readjusted by the fine bottom English. Do not hesitate here to play very high on the second cushion and let the curve take its course to score the point. In the chapter about reverse shots, we saw that the top English allows you to press the ball to the cushion. According to the same principle, the cue ball is readjusted here by the English. Accordion shot is particularly difficult because it evolves all the way along the table. The position of the red ball offers nevertheless a comfortable arrival, thus making it possible to compensate the lack of precision due to the power of the shot. Hitting strongly below the center allows you to squeeze the cushion to considerably readjust the cue ball at the end of its course. This is ideal to enlarge the arrival zone. The accordion shot played in width includes a risk of a counter contact, but the player can also hit it in the length. It is mainly the power of the shot which determines the course. The stronger the shot, the more readjustment. The less strong, the more open. This time, hitting at the top and the speed of the movement create a curve, making it possible to run around the red ball. The yellow ball being hit rather full, it is rapidly followed and the risk of counter contact is eliminated. Here again the 3-ball is ideally positioned for an arrival in accordion. This point offers two solutions: either an arrival directly after the second short cushion, or an arrival after the high short cushion. In the second case, the player must play slightly fuller, which in turn increases the risk of a counter contact. This is what you can achieve when squeezing the cushions. The reflection of the rubber is such that it allows an interference for an arrival in the center of the short cushion. Beside the quality of the gesture required for such a shot, the player must play thin enough to avoid the counter contact. Even if the ball is delicate, the hard shot is suitable. Hitting above the center creates a curve, which makes it possible to readjust to the desired course. The masse shot, rarely used in 3 cushions, allows you to describe a large curve to re-establish the necessary incidence for the desired course. Please note that an excess of verticality decreases the precision. Since the white ball is stuck to the cushion, the player cannot hit the yellow ball with bottom English. He has no choice but to hit high, while slightly lifting the bottom of the cue. The right English becomes the desired English at the second cushion. The cue ball recovers here the desired English at the fourth cushion. If he misses, the player closes the position for his opponent. This situation looks desperate if you forget the solutions offered by the broken English. It is an attack-defense shot invented by Torbjörn Blomdahl. Many players would try to run around the red ball in this picture. However, the broken English offers new perspectives. Here, the yellow ball being close to the short cushion allows you to find an original solution by a cushion-first shot. The counter contact is often the worst enemy in three cushions, but not so the contact, which owes nothing to hazard. The measurement is very important to position the red ball close to the long cushion. This is a nice defense shot where the cue ball goes back and forth over the entire table before receiving the desired English at the high short cushion. By hitting the short cushion close to the corner, top hit with a lot of left English, we find an original course with a nice arrival. The cue ball can also repeat the long cushion. This arrival can also be achieved by playing first the long cushion with reverse English. By hitting the short cushion close to the corner, top hit with left English, the player presses his ball at the long cushion, which allows him to achieve at least 3 cushions. Please note the repetition of the cushions. The repetition of the cushion is here obtained by follow English. It is the full hitting that allows the cue ball to keep enough forward rotation to repeat the long cushion. The cue must remain in a very horizontal position. The follow English is just as efficient as the cushion first shot to repeat the long cushion. In this point, the masse shot with repetition of the cushion is most appropriate. The player must not play too vertically to avoid slowing down his ball too much. By playing a clean touch hitting at the top, the repetition of the cushion by the follow English is just as efficient in this example. Many players know this point, but they don't know why they should play it cushion first. But this helps a lot to find the suitable English. This is a very nice shot, which you have to know how to recognize. It offers two options. The first one with Follow English. In the second one, you play the yellow ball thinner, which also allows to execute the shot with reverse English. Well known to artistic billiard specialists, this point nicely illustrates the sweet split curve to come back to the short cushion. If you have recognized this picture, don't hesitate to miss the ball on the way, to play a quadruple cushion first shot. This shot is also called the Ceulemans shot.